So we're gonna talk about Velma. I'm sure you've heard plenty
Oh,
about
I've
this
heard
show.
so much.
So
So much.
I didn't watch it. I watched like three different reaction YouTubers watch it, and I'm not gonna pretend like I have like a huge opinion on this because, like I said, I haven't watched it. But I also
Right.
like can tell it's something that I'm not gonna like. So I don't
Yeah.
want to do what a lot of people have done, which is hate watch it, and because of that, make it really popular.
Yeah.
So it's
Honestly, I saw this thread on Twitter where it was like that was the whole point of it to like get people to hate watch it so they'd talk about it so they'd still make money from it anyway. And I wouldn't be surprised. I personally won't be watching it either, just for a myriad of reasons.
yeah. So one of the reactors I watched, named Your Butt Tevin, said that you ever feel like a show is created to sabotage the exact kind of idea that it tried to represent?
Hmm.
And it's so funny because it's like it's such a weird show where it's like you're not sure like what their target audience is, because one second they'll be trying to make a really forced and hammy joke about like representation in media, and then next thing you know they'll have a joke where Velma says verbatim that comedians were funnier before the Me Too movement, which is wild.
Insane.
And like, bruh, is this show's crazy. And was it another YouTuber I watched named Alana Pierce said that the show rants at you more than it tries to tell a story. Like it's constantly making references to TV tropes, and so much so that it overshadows the plot. It's always just trying to make a joke and like make fun of other shows. And it's like, I think the thing about the show is the third person I watched it actually enjoyed it for what it was, and I think it's the type of show where, and this it's unfortunate. This is a thing that happens a lot nowadays. Is that you can't make something original without like a attaching an IP to it. And I think it was a case where they wanted to make something original. Like they probably did not plan for this to be Scooby Doo. You can tell
Yeah.
because Scooby's not in it. Like they probably
Right.
did not plan for this to be Scooby Doo at all because none of it just doesn't feel like Scooby Doo. None of the characters feel like Scooby Doo characters. Nothing. It felt like they wanted to make their own thing, but they threw Scooby Doo on top of it just so that they could actually get people to pay attention to it, specifically the people that were funding it, to pay attention to it and actually allow them to make the show. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be able to make it, which is unfortunate. Like let people make original things. It's but it's put people in a situation where they now feel like people are kind of like trash talking the idea of people use the term uh, it's very specific. I think edgy. Yeah, edgy is the term that a lot of people are using to saying like it's an edgy Scooby Doo, and I think people are mistaking mature for just being super edgy, over sexual, and gory when like that's not what that means. Like I think people do want a more like adult, like animated Scooby Doo show, but that doesn't mean you have to make a bunch of references to like pop culture or like have it be super gory or super sexual or anything like that. You,
Right.
I feel like the those are things that, what am I trying to say? Like a mature rating could give the Scooby Doo franchise some more room to play in. Like, of course, when it's more mature, you want a little bit more romance, maybe for it to be a little raunchier, for it to be, you want there to be like some blood, because at the end of the day, it is like the show is all about like murder mysteries, and like you want them to take advantage of that fact if it were to be mature. By the end of the day, it still has to feel like Scooby Doo. A great example is like Mystery Incorporated, which is still it's a show aimed towards teenagers really, and it just incorporates more mature themes and a more like a overarching plot lines happening in between all of the miscellaneous adventures, and that's all you really need for a more mature Scooby Doo. Just the through line and just a little bit more scary situations with like the monsters, as well as just a little bit more romance. That's what people really want. They don't necessarily need it to be like Velma.
Right.
It's a weird show. Also, I should point out that Charlie Grandy is the writer of the first episode and a lot of and is a I don't know, his name showed up in the credits a lot. And like people are like throwing all of the blame on Mindy, but it's like this Charlie Grandy is because she's like executive producer and voices Velma, and I'm sure she probably has written some of it in some of the episodes.
Mhm.
But Charlie Grandy also is like a big part of why the show is the way that it is. So if you're gonna throw blame on her, you should also be throwing just as much, if not more, blame on Charlie Grandy.
Right.
But